I would like to introduce the poet John Keats to you all. John Keats was the son of Thomas Keats and Frances Jennings. Born in 1795, he was one among the greatest poets of the 19th century, belonging to the second generation of Romantic poets. He was the eldest of 5 children and had his early education in a school run by Charles Cowden Clarke, where he picked up Latin, French, and history. One of his earliest literary works is his translation of Virgil's Aeneid. Spenser was another great influence on Keats. While working as an apprentice under an apothecary, he came into contact with Leigh Hunt and Hazlitt. Inspired by them, he gave up medical studies and adopted a career in literature. The Romantic writers Lamb and Shelley also contributed to his choice of a literary career. Ill health and unrequited love from Fanny Brown caused him to be of melancholic temperament. He wrote in his last days, "I have loved the principle of beauty in all things." His poem, Endymion, starts with the immortal lines, "A thing of beauty is a joy forever." Keats' sense of beauty overcomes every other consideration, rather obliterates all considerations. His main contributions to literature are his mighty odes, such as Ode to a Nightingale, Ode on a Grecian Urn, Ode on Melancholy, Ode to Autumn, Ode to Psyche, and so on. Lines from Ode on a Grecian Urn exemplifies his philosophy. Beauty is truth, truth beauty. That is all ye know on earth and all ye need to know. Keats is remembered for his medievalism, Hellenism, sensuousness, and concept of negative capability. He wishes to be remembered among the English poets after his death, and the wish seems to have been fulfilled. Quoting the words of Arnold, who says, he is with Shakespeare, talking about Keats as the only poet to share the felicity of Shakespeare. The major themes in the works of Keats are his transience of life, the inevitability of death, contemplation of beauty, Hellenism, negative capability, sensuous imagery, and the permanence of art. Today I would like to pay a little attention to one of the odes, the Ode on a Grecian Urn. This is the third of the 5 great odes of Keats, all published in the year 1819. Keats conveys his philosophy about art, beauty, and love through it. The poem is written in 10-line stanzas in iambic pentameter, with a rhyme scheme of AB, AB, CDE, CDE. Thou still unravished bride of quietness, thou foster child of silence and slow time. The poet here addresses the urn. The urn is imagined to be in a permanent state of unconsumed passion. The urn is the unravished bride of quietness and a foster child of silence. Sylvan historian, who can thus express a flowery tale more sweetly than our rhyme. The urn is said to be a sylvan historian, a bearer of history, who can narrate the past to us. What leaf-fringed legend haunts about thy shape? Of deities or mortals or of both? In Tempe or the dales of Arcady? So here you see that Keats is presenting an urn to you, and the urn is actually, it is a recollection of one or more urns which Keats happened to see. The urn was introduced to him by Benjamin Haydon, who introduced Keats to Greek sculpture. And part of the urn seems to be that of the collection of Lord Holland. Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Therefore ye soft pipes play on. So Unheard songs are always sweeter than heard songs because we can imagine the lyrics in any way possible. Fair youth beneath the trees, thou canst not leave thy song, nor ever canst those trees be bare. So here you come across an underlying principle which Keats wants to reiterate through this ode. That is the permanence of art against the transience of life. Life is short, but art is immortal. Bold lover, never, never canst thou kiss, though winning near the goal, yet do not grieve. The lover here attempts to kiss his beloved, but he will never be able to do so. Yet he has the satisfaction of his beloved being transfixed in time, not affected by the ravages. She cannot fade, though thou hast not thy bliss. Forever wilt thou love, and she be fair. Ah, happy, happy boughs that cannot shed your leaves, nor ever bid the spring adieu. Here the tree is forever enjoying the spring season. There is no autumn, there is no falling of leaves, and Keats envies the lasting happiness, their fertility and beauty. And happy melodist, unwearied, forever piping songs, forever new. The musician continues to play, and the song will be a delight to the generations of humans. The music, the beauty or the music of the urn remains fresh and forever new. More happy love, more happy, happy love, forever warm and still to be enjoyed, forever panting and forever young. Here there is an example of physical love remaining unaffected by the ravages of disease or age, a love that is happy and never changing. All breathing human passion far above that leaves a heart high, sorrowful and cloyed, a burning forehead and a parching tongue. So these are usually the love of the world of mortals, which is short-lived and dies too soon, unlike art, which is immortal. Leadest thou that heifer lowing at the skies, and all her silken flanks with garland dressed? What little town by river or seashore, or mountain built with peaceful citadel, is emptied of this folk, this pious mode? Here you come across a sacrificial procession led by Keats, whereby he describes it like a town being emptied of all its folk. And little town, thy streets forevermore will silent be, not a soul to tell why thou art desolate, can never return. Thou silent form, this teases out of thought, as doth eternity, cold pastoral. So here again he comes back to the urn and addresses it as a cold pastoral, which is inhuman, not having a human touch. When old age shall this generation waste, thou shalt remain in midst of other woe than ours, a friend to man, to whom thou sayest. And these are the eternal lines of Keats, in which he says, beauty is truth, truth beauty. That is all ye know on earth and all ye need to know. So whatever is beautiful is true, and truth always remains beautiful. Beauty and truth can never be separated. And in the words of Emily, it is the beauty is the only higher truth. I hope you all found this poem, Ode on a Grecian Urn, worthy of your time. Thank you.